Are you exhausted but pushing through anyway? Maybe you're working harder than ever but still feeling like it's not enough. You're skipping breaks, checking emails late at night and at weekends, and telling yourself that you'll rest when things calm down. But they never do. I know what it's like. I've been there, and if that's you, it's not because you're lazy or broken. It's because you've been sold a lie. A lie that says that hustle equals success, that burnout is just part of the job. In this video, I'm breaking down the truth about hustle culture, why it's so dangerous, and most importantly, what you can do to protect yourself. I'm Jo Banks. I spent almost 20 years as a senior HR professional before setting up my coaching practice 16 years ago. Since then, I've worked with tens of thousands of people to help them have happier, healthier lives, and I'm sharing what I know. In my coaching practice, I am seeing a worrying trend. More and more people are either completely burnt out or careering towards it like a freight train. They're running on fumes, feeling guilty for taking a lunch break, working late and at weekends, and measuring their self worth by how full their diary is. Sound familiar? It's time we had a serious conversation about hustle culture. We've been sold the idea that success only comes to those who hustle hard, that being always on is a badge of honor, that if we're not exhausted, we're not doing enough. But let's be honest, this kind of thinking is toxic. It's not only wrecking our mental and physical health, but also our relationships, creativity, and performance. Whether you're already feeling the effects of hustle culture or want to prevent burnout before it hits, this video will help you understand what's really going on and give you the tools to push back against it. So let's start with what is hustle culture? Hustle culture is the glorification of constant work. It tells us that we should be working 24/7, grinding every minute, and sacrificing rest and personal time in the name of success. You'll recognize it in phrases like rise and grind, no days off, sleep is for the weak, and work hard, play hard, a phrase that I personally loathe. It's the idea that your productivity is a measure of your value. And it's everywhere from LinkedIn posts praising the 5 a.m. starts to companies that reward presenteeism over performance. There's even an entire culture popped up around the 5 a.m. club. And I know from personal experience what it's like. Before I set up my coaching practice 16 years ago, I worked in a couple of corporate environments that were toxic and 24/7, where I worked anything from 80 hours a week upwards, even though my contractual terms were 35. I wasn't doing those hours just to complete a specific project, it was the norm and it was expected. Where hustle culture comes from. Our current working patterns stem from a time when society was very different. They were designed around the assumption that a man, usually the father, went out to work while a woman stayed at home to care for the children and manage the household. These outdated systems never accounted for dual income households, single parents, or the mental load that many women now carry trying to manage both work and home life. Nor did they consider neurodivergence, chronic health conditions, or the simple fact that humans are not machines and we have not evolved to work 24/7 and be always on. And yet, here we are, still trying to operate within the same old framework, only now we've added smartphones, emails at all hours, and an unspoken pressure to keep up with everyone else's highlight reel on social media. The impact of hustle culture on individuals. Number one, burnout. This is the big one. Burnout is a state of emotional, physical and mental exhaustion caused by excessive and prolonged stress. It doesn't just happen overnight, it builds slowly. The signs often include constant fatigue, even after rest, cynicism or detachment from work, reduced performance, anxiety or depression, physical symptoms like headaches, digestive issues, lower back or hip problems, or even sleep problems. What's heartbreaking is that many people don't realize they're burnt out until they hit a wall. Sometimes that wall will be a panic attack, a sudden illness, or complete emotional collapse. I've done interviews on functional freeze and Is Your Job Making You Sick, which are very relatable to what we're talking about here. I'll leave the links below. Number two, loss of identity. When your entire sense of self is tied up in your job title or how productive you are, you can quickly lose touch with who you really are. Hobbies, relationships, and downtime get pushed aside. You become a human doing instead of a human being. You're operating like a zombie. My clients often describe it as being disconnected, like the lights are on, but no one's home, just going through the motions and getting through each day, doing the bare minimum. Number three, damaged relationships. Hustle culture does not just affect you as an individual, it affects entire families and communities. If you're constantly working, something's got to give, and often it's quality time with partners, children, friends, and even yourself. In my almost 20 years experience in HR, followed by 16 years of coaching, I can tell you that what's going on at work always leaks into your home life and vice versa. If you try to pretend otherwise, well, you are just kidding yourself. There is always an impact. Let's look at the impact on organizations. Some businesses still buy into the idea that hustle culture equals high performance, but the data tells a very different story. What it tends to look like is number one, reduced productivity. Yes, people can sprint for short bursts, and we often have to do that when there's projects. So let's be really realistic here. But constant sprinting, that leads to burnout, absenteeism, and high labour turnover. Tired, stressed out employees are less creative, make more mistakes, and are more likely to disengage. Number two, toxic cultures. When presenteeism is rewarded over actual outcomes, people feel pressured to be visible rather than productive. They work long hours, not because it's necessary, because it looks good. It creates fear, resentment, and competition instead of collaboration. Number three, lack of diversity and inclusion. Rigid work expectations often disproportionately affect women, carers, neurodivergent people, and those with chronic health conditions. Hustle culture silently rewards the person with no outside responsibilities, often still the archetype of the child free male employee who can give everything to the job. If we want genuine, inclusive workplaces, hustle culture has to go. So, what can we do instead? 7 strategies for beating burnout. Before we dive into the how, let's get one thing straight. I know these steps aren't always easy. Some require deep mindset shifts, and others may mean making difficult choices. But they're essential if we want to avoid burnout and create a more sustainable, fulfilling way to live and work. This isn't about being lazy, soft, or unambitious. It's about being well, clear headed, and able to show up consistently without falling apart. Here are some practical things you can start doing now to protect yourself from hustle culture. Number one, challenge your beliefs about work. Many of us were raised with the belief that hard work equals virtue, that being busy means being important, that slowing down is lazy. These messages run deep and they often go unquestioned. If you recognize yourself in any of those quotes, start by asking yourself, what do I believe about work and success? Who taught me my current beliefs? Are they actually true or helpful for me now? It's helpful to journal your answers to these questions. Writing things down often gives you a different perspective. You might be surprised at how much you're unconsciously carrying. Awareness is always the first step to change. Number two, set boundaries and stick to them. This is one of the most powerful tools you have. Boundaries protect your time, energy, and mental health. But I get it. Setting them can feel uncomfortable, especially in a culture that rewards overwork. So, my recommendation is to start small. Block out time in your diary for lunch or a short walk. I often discuss the benefits of a 15-minute walk. You don't have to do 10,000 steps to make a significant difference to your nervous system. Switch off email, Teams, and other notifications at a set time, say 6 or 7 p.m. Set expectations with colleagues around your availability. Say no to extra work when your plate is already full. I know these sound really easy just to say, but bear with me. Boundaries aren't selfish, they're a sign of self respect. People who respect themselves tend to be more respected by others too. Again, as a former HR professional, I have to say that if you're constantly having to work excessive hours, and I don't just mean when there's a big deadline looming, then there's a head count issue. In other words, too much work for one person. If you're part of a team, that either aren't enough people in that team to do all the work, or if you're a manager, you don't have enough people to delegate to. Either way, it's definitely worth bringing to the attention of your manager or HR. One issue I frequently have observed, especially with new managers, is that they feel like they've failed if they have to ask for additional resources. In other words, more people. That's not the case. Part of your role, if you are a new manager, is to assess what is needed and to ask for it. Of course, you might not always get it, but it's definitely worth at least asking. Number three, redefine what productivity means and manage your calendar. We've been taught to measure productivity by how many tasks we tick off, but real productivity is about working effectively and sustainably, not just about doing more. If you're constantly on the go, you leave no time for reflection, creativity, or long term thinking, all of which are vital for meaningful work. Rest, white space in your calendar, goodness me, wouldn't that be a luxury? And time to just think aren't luxuries, they're part of the job. One thing I work a lot with my coaching clients is on their productivity. Many bounce from meeting to meeting all week long with no time to do their actual job, let alone the actions that come out of those meetings. Managing your diary is crucial. At the beginning of the week, look at your diary and ask these questions. Do I have to be in all of those meetings? Do I have to be in person in all of those meetings, or can I dial in? Can I delegate any of those meetings? Finally, can I join in just for my bit of that meeting? Also, when meeting requests come in, ask yourself those same questions. Taking control of your calendar is critical. If you don't do that, someone else will. Number four, listen to your body. Your body is always giving you signals, but if you're stuck in hustle mode, it's easy to ignore them. Early warning signs of burnout include feeling wired but tired, frequent illness, headaches, lower back or hip pain that can't be explained, stomach issues, trouble sleeping, snapping at people over small things and that inability to be able to manage your emotions, and difficulty concentrating. Also, brain fog is a big one, and forgetfulness. Treat rest like a recovery tool, not something you earn after collapsing. If you listen to your body when it whispers, you won't have to hear it scream. To help your body cope with the pressure, it's critical to get the five basics right. Number one, sleep. Number two, exercise. Number three, daylight exposure. Number four, nutritious food. And number five, at least 2 litres of water every day, as well as your other drinks. If you're not getting those 5 basics right, you can't possibly expect to be well, even without the added pressure of an excessive workload. Number 5, make time for joy and stillness. You are more than just your job. When was the last time that you did something just because it made you happy? Not because it was productive, monetizable, or impressive. Something just for you. Joy, hobbies, stillness, spiritual connection, time in nature, these things replenish us and are critical. They remind us of who we are underneath all of the roles and responsibilities that we have. Give yourself permission to enjoy your life, even if it's just small moments throughout the day. If this feels like way too much and way out of reach, start with the 10-minute happiness challenge. You wouldn't believe how many CEOs I've taught this one to. Every single day, put just 10 minutes in your diary to do something that you enjoy. You have to schedule it in as you would any other important meeting, but it is that important. In fact, it's not just important, it's critical to your well-being. Number 6, find a job with the right culture fit. This one is huge. You could be doing everything right, setting boundaries, working effectively, managing your energy. But if you're stuck in a toxic work culture that glorifies burnout, your efforts will only take you so far. If you're constantly expected to be available 24/7, made to feel guilty for taking annual leave, surrounded by competition instead of collaboration, told that burnout is just part of the job, then it might not be you that needs to change. It might very well be your environment. In many of my posts, social media posts, and videos, I talk about the damage that toxic workplaces can do. A bad culture erodes confidence, well being, and even physical health. If this is your reality, think about how you can transition to a healthier environment. Look for organizations that promote work life balance, focus on outcomes, not hours, value psychological safety and employee well-being, and encourage flexible working and boundaries. You deserve to work somewhere that aligns with your values, not somewhere that drains the absolute life out of you. Number 7, stop comparing your life to everyone else's. Hustle culture thrives on comparison. Social media is filled with people showcasing 5 a.m. routines, packed calendars, and success that often comes at massive hidden costs. Here's the truth: you do not know what's happening behind the scenes. I do. I see it being a coach, and you would be surprised at the amount of successful people are falling apart behind the scenes. Everyone is on their own timeline. You don't have to work 80 hours a week to prove your worth. You don't have to run yourself into the ground to be successful. Unfollow, mute, and filter those social media accounts that make you feel bad about yourself. Focus on your own path and define success on your own terms. The wrap up: we need to stop glorifying exhaustion. Of course, we do have to work hard to get the life we want. I've never met anyone who achieved success in their career who didn't. But that doesn't mean working to the point of exhaustion. Being busy is not a badge of honour. Hustle culture doesn't make us stronger, it wears us down. Take it from someone who's lived it and has coached many people going through it. If we want to thrive as individuals and organisations, we need a new model of success, one built on sustainability, balance, and humanity. And it starts with each of us saying, I choose a different way, because you can be ambitious and well rested. You can be successful and have a life. You can work with purpose without working yourself into the ground. It's time to change the record. You can't thrive in an environment that constantly demands you sacrifice your health, relationships, and sense of self for the sake of productivity. Hustle culture is not sustainable, and it's not something to aspire to. Even if it feels uncomfortable at first, every step you take to unplug from the hustle narrative is a step towards long term well being and happiness. Your worth is not defined by your output. Remember, you are allowed to rest. You are allowed to slow down. You're allowed to work in a way that supports your whole life, not just your job. It's not always easy, but it's necessary, and you don't have to do it all at once. Start where you are and take it one step at a time, and trust that you're allowed to choose a different way. What next? If you have anything you'd like to add to today's video or any topics you'd like to see me cover in future, please leave them in the comment section below. I read and respond to everything and really love interacting with you all. If you enjoyed this video, can I ask a huge favour, please? Please support this channel with a like, comment, subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss a thing. It's completely free, and if you don't have a YouTube account, it takes seconds to set one up, and that's completely free too. You'll never get emails from me, YouTube, or anyone else, and it really does make a massive difference in helping me grow this channel. Finally, thank you to everybody who stays until the very end, and thank you so much for your support. It really means the absolute world to me. Thank you.